Just to start by saying that the Zimbabwe National Students Union is an institution of academics, students who are pursuing academic endeavors in institution of higher learning, polytechnics, teachers' colleges, vocational training centers, that speaks and advocates for academic freedom and free education. Free education, in our view, is education which is free of cost. It's an education that is being delivered to the students of this country with the burden being carried by the government itself, not the students paying tuition, not the students paying accommodation. We are speaking of education that used to be there early 1980s, just after Robert Mugabe took power from the white minority regime. There used to be grants for students. There used to be scholarships for students. Students used to learn for free. Students used to get payouts, especially those who are in institution of higher learning. So that's a free education for us, in our sense. And in the economic setup of Zimbabwe, to say how can it be supported, how can it be feasible, I'm sure you would agree with me that the resources of this country are not being channeled to the essential services that feeds into the national economic developmental agenda of this country. If you look at the budget itself, you see that much is being channeled towards military, but we are not in war. But if those resources are to be taken and channeled towards education, you will see that it will be easy for us to realize a free education in this country. If resources that are being looted by Ganandas are being looted by those political elites are to be channeled towards education, you will see that free education is very possible. If that money we are losing through illicit financial outflows is to be channeled towards education, you will see that free education is very possible in our economic setup. So it's a matter of priority. It's a matter of political will on the part of the governing structures of this country. Students really face a plethora of challenges in institution of higher learning. We talk of sexual harassment on campus. We talk of lack of accommodation itself. We talk of poor sanitation on campus. We talk of poor infrastructure that is leading to the production of half-baked graduates who are not fully equipped with the skills they are supposed to have after completion of their studies. So as a union, we have been advocating for free campuses, depoliticized campuses. I'm sure you are aware of the issue of students who are being victimized for their right to association, for their right to freedom of assembly. All those are challenges that students face outside the financial constraint, but the major challenges are also stem from the issue of lack of financial support. If you talk of the issue of sexual harassment, a blesser to blessee issue, there are now older people who are coming and praying students, particularly female students on campus, taking advantage of the financial constraints they are facing. For one to get accommodation can be easily abused by those officials who oversee and allocate accommodation itself. So mainly the challenge that students are facing in Zimbabwe also goes back to the economic issues of the country, also goes back to the political issues of the country. So we cannot exclusively say that financial issues are not also feeding in other issues that are affecting students on campus. Well, the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education plays a key role in addressing our students. It's very unfortunate that it's being spearheaded, it's being run by those who I can characterize as intellectual thugs, who are not sincere enough, who are not genuine enough, who are not sympathetic enough to understand that a son of a vendor also deserves to be in class, who do not understand that a daughter of a civil servant or equally deserves to be in class, who do not understand that even the son or daughter of a peasant also has a right to education, is enshrined in our constitution, section 75, which clearly speaks to affordability and accessibility of education. But that is not being realized because education has been made to be a privilege, just to be accessed by a few elites. So the Ministry of Education at the present moment has orphaned students itself, but it has a key role to play. It is the one who actually advocates for a better subsidy to anchor students who are actually paying tuition instead of higher learning, so that they can pay less, they can pay fees they can afford. As we are speaking right now, students, our parents are earning way below the poverty line, but the tuition fees that are being demanded by instead of higher learning are way higher than the poverty line itself, are way higher than the average salary of a civil servant in this country. So it's making it difficult for ordinary students, for ordinary citizens to afford higher and tertiary education. So it's no longer a right as initially the Constitution of Zimbabwe, but it's now a privilege. On the other side, the ministry has called that a contractual obligation to fulfill and make sure that the son of a vendor, the son of a civil servant, the daughter of a peasant is in class and equally benefiting from education as enshrined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. It is a right, not a privilege. The union position is very clear, and our stance remains that those comrades who were expelled and suspended for conscientizing young people to know their rights on and off campus are just political victims of this country. It's clearly political persecution. It's clearly violation of their human rights, and it must be condemned in its greatest sense. And we are challenging that. We have been challenging that since day one. We are challenging that in the courts of law, and I'm sure the High Court will overturn that decision that was made by a Nati professor who is presiding over a Middle State University, who is clearly politically aligned, who is serving political interest of the ruling elite, not the student itself, not the academic constituents. So we really condemn the violation of student rights on campus. You know, students historically played a key role in addressing the national question, in the sense that before we are students, we are also citizens of this country. We don't remain students forever. We are equally employees in transit. So we have a key role to play in answering the national question. As I have alluded before, most of our challenges we face on and off campus emanates from economics of the country, emanates from politics of the country. So that alone gives us a mandate to equally respond to the economic question of the country, which today we speak of corruption, which is rampant and which has become a norm in this motherland. Students are not spared, students are not exceptional of the consequences of the corrupt government, of the consequences of the corrupt elites who are presiding over the affairs of this country. If money is looted, as I have alluded before, which can be channeled towards education itself, students are equally suffering, students are equally not benefiting from a piece of the national cake, which is supposed to be shared fairly and equally. If you look at how much was looted on the court scheme at council, you see if that money was to be channeled towards education, every learner at the University of Zimbabwe would be learning for free. So we are then forced as students to equally respond to the national question. Hence our mantra that we cannot divorce student issues from the national question. And someone who will be doing that will be pushing an illegitimate task, if not a bogus one. We are leading at a time where young people overall, not just students, are being silenced. There is clear systematic exclusion of the young in key decision-making processes in this country. So we really have a role to play in conscientizing our generation, AMA 2K, the generation of TikTok, slay queens, slay kings. We really have a role to conscientize them, to really tell them, inform them that we constitute greater dividend of the population of this country. And the few who are ruling and the few who are exploiting our naturally endowed resources, our God-given resources, are older. and must be challenged. So as a union, we definitely have a role to play as the torchbearers of the society. I'm sure there is an African mantra that if you educate a child, you're educating a society. So we encourage our students, we really push for them to go in society and advocate and educate our fellow young people who have been forced into drugs by the economic situation, who have been forced into thieving by the economic status of our country, to actually stand up and understand their rights and challenge the status quo and make sure that they also participate and engage in issues that matter, in issues that determine the future of the country, the future of us as young people, and the future of the generations to come. Well, my advice to fellow comrades who are pushing for academic freedom, to all human rights defenders, is that let's remain resolute. Let's keep on pushing for what is right. Nothing lasts forever. Even the greatest dictators of this world, Idi Amin, greatest dictators of this world, at some point were actually pushed. There is power within the masses, there is power within the people, and the voice of the people will definitely prevail. So let's remain resolute to push for the change that we deserve, for the change that we really wish to see in our lifetime.